Hi, I'm Jerome, resident sexpert at ltasex.info. Welcome to Let's Talk About Sex, the show where we talk about sex. And today, we're talking about enemas. Well, not all enemas, but my first experience with the enema, which I just had a couple weeks ago. It's a long story, so let's get right into it. As you all should know, I sometimes like to press my boundaries and try things I've never tried before. If you're a regular reader of LTA Sex, you've probably come across my bisexual experiment. Having recently fallen in love with prostate play, I felt that an enema would be the perfect next step to push my boundaries. Before we get into things, a lesson.
What is an enema?
An enema or anal juice is just this device that squirts water into your rectum to make sure that you're clean for anal sex. Yes. Really.
Why would you want an enema?
I honestly don't know. For myself, it was just the next logical step in sexual experimentation. Now that I've overcome that mental barrier of liking some sort of anal play, it makes sense to see what other kinds I might enjoy. Plus, the cleaner anal sex is, the better. Okay, now let's move on to my actual experience. Overall, I would have to say that using an enema was a remarkably pleasurable experience. Going into it, I didn't really know what to expect. It's not like people generally talk about these sorts of things. You know, I can't even say that I ever actually even thought about what it might feel like. And it was probably better that way. Regardless of how unprepared I was for the experience, I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I ever imagined. In the beginning, it was a bit of a difficult experience. I couldn't get the nozzle into place, and everything was just going wrong. Admittedly, I was a little nervous, and as we know, nervousness creates tension, and tension is not good for anything involving anal play. After 6 or 7 tries, I had to take some time to regroup. After a few deep breaths, I relaxed and things started going a little bit better. I was able to figure out that standing up straight was making my goal nearly impossible. Once I was hunched over a bit more, I was able to insert the nozzle and things flowed freely. Like I mentioned earlier, I've recently gotten into prostate play. From that, I've become accustomed to that unique sense of pleasure that comes from that pressure sensation. This sensation was exactly like that, except a whole lot stronger. And when I say a whole lot, I really mean that. The very first time things got going, my knees buckled. I literally had to catch myself on the rim of the tub. I don't think I actually have the words to describe the experience. If there's an adjective that describes feeling like a human Twinkie, I'd be really surprised. Before I had the enema, I was worried that the process would be really difficult. But actually, that was the easiest part of the whole experience. Once the nozzle was in place, the water flowed freely. What the fuck is the word? Flowed. The water flowed freely. Okay. Once the nozzle was in, the water flowed freely. Pushing the water back out felt incredibly natural. I didn't even have to remove the nozzle. And moving around with the nozzle inside wasn't actually uncomfortable. One thing I was surprised by was how not disgusting the entire process was. I mean, I think about flushing out my rectum and I automatically think of brown mess in the tub. And in reality, it was nothing like that at all. Everything that came out went right down the drain. For what it was, I actually have to say the process was pretty dignified. Once I was done, I washed all my tools and went about my day. Other than me finding the experience pleasurable, it was pretty much unremarkable. I wonder if anybody else has ever described having an enema as being unremarkable. Probably not. So that was basically it for my experience. Now I know some of you are going to send me questions asking me for tips, so I thought I'd just include them right here at the end of this video. So here's a couple things I learned. Always use lube. I did my enema in the shower. Because of that, the plastic on the enema got wet and kept catching on my skin. It was incredibly uncomfortable. But then I had the bright idea to use lube and everything got so much better. After I was done with the enema and everything was put away, I did find that I had to expel a little bit more water about 20 minutes later. So if you're doing this before a date, make sure to give yourself enough time to make sure everything is out. Otherwise, that brown mess I was thinking of in my tub might happen in your pants, and that's not a good idea. Lastly, water temperature is really important. Cold water might cause cramps, hot water will scald your anus, and nobody likes a scalded anus. But warm water feels wonderful. When you're testing the water, keep in mind the skin of your fingers and the skin of your anus are different. What's a little too warm to your fingers will be absolutely unbearable to your anus. You have a bit more leeway with cold, but I would just suggest keeping the water warm. Alright, that's about it for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you enjoyed yourself, make sure to click subscribe. If you want more sexy stuff like this, you can find it at ltasex.info. You can follow me on Twitter at NotJeromeStewart. You can find the Let's Talk About Sex Facebook fan page at facebook.com/ltasex.info. Make sure to come back next week when we'll have an interview with transgender porn star James Darling. There are unicorn game bangs involved. You won't want to miss it. Until next time, I'm still Jerome. This is still Let's Talk About Sex, and I'll see you next time. Keep it sexy. Why can't you want me like the other boys do? They stare at me while I stare at you. Why can't I keep you here in my arms? 1 minute you're here and the next you're gone.